Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. In the first story, we tell you how a military man can ruin the day of an ordinary drugstore cashier. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Canada doesn't have a veteran discount. Back when I worked at a big red drugstore, I worked as a cash supervisor. It was my job to cover my cashier's breaks and make sure customers got as good a customer experience as possible. For those who don't know, drugstores do not sell tobacco or alcohol products, so the only item we sell that requires an ID is lottery, relevant later. We also have a Seniors Day on Thursday where anyone 65 plus can get 20% off. We don't need an ID or proof of age. They usually just know to ask for it since signs are up everywhere advertising the discount. The story takes place about mid-2019 before all the COVID drama started. It was a Saturday, so no managers were in. I was covering my cashier's break when a man comes up with a basket full of stuff. I make the usual greetings, ask if he has our rewards card, and ask if he'd like a bag. He gruffly says something about visiting from the U.S., so of course he doesn't have a rewards card with us. He doesn't respond to wanting a bag, so I just start stacking his items at the end of the till. When I finish scanning his items, I read off his total and ask if he's paying with cash or card. He tosses an ID on the counter. Me. Oh, did you want lottery? Him. What? No, I want a discount. Me thinking he meant the seniors discount. Oh, I'm sorry, we only have senior discounts on Thursdays. The customer looks back at me like I'm stupid, shoves the ID closer. Him. I'm a veteran, missy. That means I get a discount no matter what day it is. Me. I'm sorry, but we don't do veterans discounts here in Canada. Him. Well, they do where I'm from, so you need to honor that. I stand there dumbfounded. How did that make any sense? Me. I'm sorry, but I have no way to put any kind of discount on your purchase, as it's not Thursday for Seniors Day, and we have no promo going on right now. Him getting obviously upset and red in the face. I want your supervisor. I want you fired. I want a new cashier. I blink at him. I can barely get the words out as I tell him I am the supervisor, and there was no store manager in today. The man flipped his lid. He started yelling at me, telling me I was discriminating and must hate the U.S., and he hoped they bombed my country next, and that all of Canada was a stupid place with stupid people. I just stood there, not sure what to do. People were starting to stare, and I was so freaked out, all I could do was stand there with my mouth open going, Finally, he said his piece and stomped out of the store with his ID and nothing else. I stood there in silence for a few minutes, just trying to process what happened. My cashier came back, but I had nothing else to do, so I just stayed on till to help with customers. A little elderly woman came up to my register to ask if I was all right and that she never liked those hooligans south of the border. She made me smile and actually helped me put some of the items away that the man had left on the till. It makes me wonder, though, does every place in the U.S. give a discount to veterans? And why'd he flip out so badly when I didn't give him one here? And our second story. My former employers lost their client and business because of me. A few years back in 2018, I had decided to switch employers. I worked from home as a chat support specialist and eventually a supervisor for a major tech company. I had decided to switch to a small-time customer support agency that was just starting a new chat team. They had better pay and benefits because they had only a small number of employees compared to the former. The description of the position I was to be hired for was another salary-based supervisory role for their brand new chat team for the client. I'd basically be doing the same thing as my previous job, but also spearheading this small department while simultaneously training other coworkers with zero experience in chat support. This was going extremely well, and our client was ecstatic at the results of the new chat program. They had personally sent me an email over my progress. The company I left was, and still is, known worldwide to have the friendliest and professional customer support out of any other company, so it was easy to apply what I'd learned to this new position. After about 2 months of doing this, the person I directly report to, the regional supervisor, was retiring. Our new regional came in and was friendly at first, but decided that he didn't want to waste his time on chat and directed me to phone support, which was not in my job description, nor what I was hired for by any means. He cited that the client was unhappy with the results, which was in stark contrast to what they'd told me directly. Even after forwarding him the email, he was still not doing anything about it. So I complied. It took just 2 days for the client to have reached out to me personally. After explaining to them the situation, they were livid. My new regional had lied to me about his contract with the client and had essentially ignored our client's attempt to contact him about the issue. I'd continued to work in the supervisory role for phones until the first quality review of my employees came up, for team leads and direct call center employees both. This is where I review their interactions and grade them based off their strengths and weaknesses. Our regional wanted me to even include the chat support team, who were neither hired nor trained for phones. He refused to give them training. On every single employee who was hired for chat support, I'd filed all of them as unable to be completed, and in my notations, I included this is not the position they were hired or trained for, and thus an analysis cannot be accurately completed. And I sent this to both the regional manager and our client as well, since at this point I had a direct contact email. I was responded to the same day by whoever it is within our client who oversees all of the outsourcing. The only words I got back were, "We will deal with this." The client held a meeting the following week with my employers. I'm not sure what was said in that meeting, but word got back to everyone that the client had dropped us for breach of contract because this was a small office and our company's only client for several years. This was bad. After that, me and my team were offered a position with the company directly doing the things we were hired to do, but required us to move about 4 hours north. So unfortunately, none of us decided to accept that offer. I collected unemployment until I found a new job. Now the company's out of business and is currently being sued by some other employees for unpaid wages. This new case has been going on since 2019. The audacity and level of idiocy some managers display is just mind-boggling. And our last story, a bad ending for our neighbor. A few years ago, I was going through a harder point of my life. I was living with my brother and my mom, and that was it. My brother, albeit a bit younger, could barely keep his grades up or clean his room, let alone help out with the house. So most choices and responsibilities ended up falling upon my mother and I to work out, and at the time of the story, we ended up agreeing that the current city we lived in was too expensive, her side, and crappy because I didn't like my peers in the school district, my side, and in less than 10 minutes, we'd agreed to move nearly half an hour away and never look back, and it was perfect. Well, it was perfect for about a week, if that, because the moment we moved in, our D-bag of a neighbor existed. Enter Roger, who made the mistake of taking my mom's parking spot. This was an issue because if we didn't have our parking spot, we had to park 5 minutes of walking away from the house, which was unpleasant for us, so we decided to politely ask for our spot back. "Mom, hi, is this your car?" my mom asked as she saw Roger walk back to his car. Roger, "Yeah, and it's my spot too. It's always been that way." Mom, "Well, you see the spots are numbered, and this is clearly our, F you." And with that, Roger had driven away and set the tone for the entire lease between us. My mom and I agreed we'd try to do what we could to get the neighbor to reconcile in his ways and keep notes of anything, well, noteworthy, but otherwise not much could be done. The landlords did F all to help us, so we were out that spot. About a month in, I left school about an hour early and found a free parking spot when I drove there with a friend and decided this would be the day we gave him a taste of his own medicine. Turns out he wasn't very rational either. This led to him blocking my friend in so he could threaten to assault him until my friend insisted on leaving. I told my mom about this and she agreed that this was the last straw. We were taking this guy down. So she told me to wait and do nothing for a day so she could get in touch with her friend, who happened to be a sheriff for our local county. Now, I do want to defend myself a bit here. Nah, just kidding. We're totally effing snitches, especially when it comes to people like this. Anything that comes their way, they deserve. So we told this guy everything small that happened since the month we moved in. They were constantly loud. We heard yelling from Roger all the time. At one point, they broke some furniture outside, and my mom could smell chemicals through the walls. The sheriff seemed intrigued. Sheriff, Now, Mom, how much do you hate this guy? Mom, I just want my parking spot. Well, here's the thing. We can't do anything about your parking spot. That's a civil dispute and not our territory. But, Mom, but? You mentioned you smell stuff through the walls, right? Well, we've been arresting an awful lot of people driving under the influence, and it's really close to this complex. If we got him for that, he'd have no car to park in your spot behind bars. So our plan was born. We wrote down everything we smelled. We wrote down the plates of every car that was in our and his spot. We even set a camera up to automatically take pictures of cars and log when they left and pulled in. A motion camera I set up on a high window with a Raspberry Pi. And basically every noise we heard. And when the time came and the sheriff needed evidence, we forwarded it all to the police officer. Fast forward through months of this. Half of our apartment is packed up. I've resigned to always walking home and not even bothering having my mom drive me most days, and our neighbors still being obnoxious as hell. And then I saw a truly beautiful sight. The apartment right next to us swarmed by 6 law enforcement cars, 2 of which were for CPS and 4 of which were, well, armed effing cops. Turns out almost every single plate we noted and sent to the friend had been arrested. Turns out almost every single plate we noted down and sent to the friend had been arrested. We know he had a lot of illegal substances in his house, and there was probably more we weren't told of. And that CPS car? Turns out he had shared custody of 3 kids. He definitely won't be seeing those kids again, the sheriff told us. He also told us later that Roger got years behind bars, though I'm not sure how many. Probably something over 10. The funny part is that nobody except the sheriff knew my mom was behind this. She said she wanted to remain anonymous and even turned him down on taking us to dinner. When he asked her why, she replied, well, it was a bit late, but you got us that parking spot back, didn't you? Sometimes it pays to be patient. He deserves everything he's got coming to him. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.